against Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, he's recently been suspended from the Labour Party.
Yeah, this is absolute horseshit. I pulled up this article. I thought this was a pretty good article from the Jacobin, basically, which just says it as it is. It's about crushing the left. Jeremy Corbyn is, an outspoken socialist leader of the Labour Party, or former leader of the Labour Party. He's anti-imperialist. He's anti-globalist. He's not anti-EU, but he definitely understands the more populist instinct against wanting to be part of them. So he's definitely a different kind of leftist that a country like the UK has not really had in power in a while. And it's really too bad that this has, been so successful to smear against him, because it really is not based in anything. It's basically based on the fact that I guess he associated with a few people that have some.
Yeah, and it's kind of the whole idea, right? It's like you could accuse any major political party and of having members who were holding political opinions that were evil, essentially, right? Anti-Semitism, if the extension or the progression, at least to the conclusion of anti-Semitism, right? And I think that this has been kind of like you said, a long time coming. We've seen these attacks constantly lobbed against Jeremy Corbyn. It really impacted him in the last election in the UK. Obviously the Labour got beat pretty bad. And I think it also, just for me, it reminded me of a piece that David Graeber wrote a few years back before he passed. Obviously, David Graeber, the American intellectual, passed away this year. But this was a piece that he wrote in September of last year. I think we have it saved if we could get it pulled up, where it essentially argued that the real biggest threat to him that he felt as a Jewish person, the piece is entitled "For the First Time in My Life, I'm Afraid to Be Jewish." But he says, for almost all my Jewish friends, what is currently creating the greatest and most immediate sense of trepidation is the apparent endless campaign by politicians like Margaret Hodge, Wes Streeting, and Tom Watson to weaponize anti-Semitism accusations against the current leadership of the Labour Party. It is a campaign which, however it started, has been sustained primarily by people who are not themselves Jewish, so cynical and irresponsible that I genuinely believe it to be a form of anti-Semitism in and of itself. It is a clear and present danger to Jewish people. So essentially what these people are doing is, for their own cynical political gains, co-opting something that is as real of a threat as anti-Semitism. And it's important to remember why this, that this is, for people, especially in America, this is occurred in Europe, where, the legacy of the Holocaust lives on in a much more tangible, real way. And you have to think of the fact that you're going to be, especially as a person who, a Jewish person, you're going to be fearful of these rising comments. And if the media is constantly talking about the rise of anti-Semitism, and you think about your grandparents who told you stories about the Holocaust, like this is going to evoke a very visceral feeling. And it's so disgusting that they're co-opting this very real pain, this very real anxiety, when you see people, in our own country of the United States, Jews will not replace us, holding pitchforks, all this kind of stuff. There is a real problem of anti-Semitism, and to reject this accusation against Jeremy Corbyn is not to reject anti-Semitism unilaterally as a global issue, but this is obviously evidenced as being used as a political tool with no interest for the actual well-being of Jewish people and Jewish communities.
And it's so obvious too that every time they want to take down one of these influential leftist figures, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Alex Morse or Jeremy Corbyn or Shahid Buttar, they always go with what they know the left will, immediately throw them under the bus with, which is an accusation like this. A lot of people on the left are going to look at this and they're not even going to question. They're just going to be like, or not a lot of people, but some people are going to just be like, if people are saying he's anti-Semitic, then I don't want anything to do with him. Or if people are saying that, this person had some impropriety, then I don't want to have anything to do with them, because a lot of people on the left do have really, clear moral lines in the sand they don't want to cross. They don't want to support someone who's, been accused of something like that. So it's so obvious to someone like me watching the media work in tandem with the, corporate political establishment to take down figures like this with these kind of accusations, because again, they know that a lot of the left is just going to fall right into the trap because they're so prone to, virtue signal and embrace these kind of cultural issues. What this kind of story really makes me think is just that we have to figure out a way to not allow the corporate media to, just cook up these accusations and then take people. Like there has to be some way to push back against this, because remember when Bernie Sanders on the run up to his election, when they started dropping stories about how
Cuba.
I'm talking about before he even entered the race. Remember when literally every outlet was writing stories about the rape case from within the Bernie campaign, where he almost low-key implied that or not implied, but some headlines almost made it look like it was Bernie that had done this sexual assault, when in reality it was some low-level person on his campaign that I guess got dealt with, but maybe not as quickly as
that New York Times article where they literally in the article say as soon as Bernie, he was like, oh, that person needs to be terminated from the campaign, like, as soon as it was raised, they literally put that caveat in there, as soon as Bernie was made aware, or higher level officials, the issue was dealt with. Like, it was basically saying, well, it didn't get dealt with soon enough.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if people are going to be outraged about this, it's like, you can't, compare this to the way that, Republican politicians or Tory politicians talk about Muslim immigrants, right? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Exactly. Or Jewish people in general. Like Donald Trump is notorious for saying anti-Semitic shit, and he even has a Jewish son-in-law. So like, it's insane to lobby this accusation at Corbyn, who's clearly one of the most, who's devoted his life to the pursuit of equality and socialist values. It's insane. I feel bad for him because he's obviously put so much on the line and to embrace these actual leftist policies, and this is what he gets in return. It's disgusting, and it's proof that the corporate media will absolutely work as a tool to crush the left. And I think that to deny that at this point is just a huge handicap in our movement. I think that because of Donald Trump's language against the media, the left has this tendency to defend it, or at least the corporate media, places like the New York Times and outlets.
Yeah, 100%. It's such bullshit.
But this is a huge obstacle in our way if we're ever going to get a real government that, or leaders that are going to rep these values. Because
and again, even quote unquote like left-leaning outlets. Look at how the Guardian UK covers fucking Jeremy Corbyn, right? Like, they're supposed to be the most like liberal leaning of the UK papers, which is obviously horseshit. The Guardian is not liberal leaning, but the aura of them being like, the left-leaning paper in the UK is, I guess if it's anywhere, it's that paper, right? So, and they still 100% behind it.
Yep. Same with Julian Assange. We saw him.
Oh yeah. When they covered it all.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's tough to articulate because obviously you do risk sounding like a Trumpian character where you're just like, oh, whenever you risk sounding like someone who's just, I don't like this story, so I'm going to call it fake, or I'm going to call it corrupt. But no, this is an actual pattern that's very observable, especially when it comes to people on the actual left. They're consistently smeared. There's consistently, cooked up allegations. And again, everyone, you could find dirt on literally anyone. That Joe Biden has the Tara Reade thing. When does the media never talks about that? They never printed articles ad nauseum about that. It's calculated, it's intentional, and it has a very specific purpose, which is to manufacturing consent. There you go. So again, it's not like some new revelation, but I just think that we need to take it more seriously and be more aware of who our enemies are and how they're working through the media to suppress dissent and to prevent these populist movements forever coming to fruition, and quite effectively. This is, just absolutely insanity. And again, I feel sorry for Jeremy Corbyn here. He tweets, I'll strongly contest the political intervention to suspend me. I've made absolutely clear that those who deny there has been anti-Semitism problem in the Labour Party are wrong. I will continue to support zero tolerance towards all forms of racism. And he put out a longer statement on his Facebook. Again, Jeremy Corbyn has been very, he's always condemned this. He's never, he's never like he equivocates on this matter. It's a complete smear. And,
Gravel Institute said it best. Thank you, King.
And what has been a little bit encouraging too is that, despite me saying that obviously a lot of the left falls into these traps, on this issue, a lot of the left, when it comes to, outlets like Jacobin or, the Gravel Institute here on Twitter, people have been sticking up for Jeremy and they have been calling this out for the bullshit that it is. People understand that this is a smear, and guys, they would have smeared Bernie as an anti-Semite if he literally wasn't Jewish. Like,
if he didn't have family in the Holocaust, it's definitely very likely that would have gone down.